I'm Norm Tiedemann. Most of you probably know me if you've been here for a while. If not, I'm one of the people at High Tech Kids that helps run these various programs. The other person from High Tech Kids who's on is Vicki Cody, and she'll be chiming in, especially in some of the beginning parts. And then we'll both be monitoring chat. If you have questions, feel free to put it in the chat. Otherwise, after my little talk, which hopefully won't take long, we'll open it up and you can unmute yourself. And we're doing it as a Zoom meeting, so hopefully you can have a little discussion if things like that come up. Okay, so I am going to share.
Oh, looks like Cheryl's on too, but she's dark.
Having some technical difficulties with my camera, but here. Welcome, everyone.
Okay. Well, so as I said, the beginning part of this is a little bit of a review. And basically, as everyone knows, things were kind of shut down a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of teams were kind of left out. Couldn't meet in schools. Some of them had their equipment stuck in a school that they had to figure out how to get out. Made it more difficult for teams to get together. Based on that and just the general feeling that teams were not having enough time to get ready, we decided to delay all our tournaments by about 6 to 8 weeks. We discussed it for quite some time before we finally decided it was the way to go. So we're kind of shutting everything down for the while. Could cause some conflicts with spring activities, but hopefully we can work around that. Again, we just want to make it so teams are able to compete. That's really it. We want to see you guys who are, working through this year too, be able to compete with your team and be successful with your team. And that's really what we're trying to do here. There have been a number of teams that have been meeting remotely since the beginning of the year, and I've heard are somewhat prepared for tournaments, and we really want to congratulate them. And now they can either take the next 6 weeks off or be more prepared. So our new tournament schedule, for people who didn't read the email, starts the last week of January. It's basically 6 Saturdays in a row, and then a single Sunday in the middle of that, February 21st. So 7 tournaments, just like we had before, but from the end of January to the beginning of March. And then, the middle of March to end of March is spring break, and then we have Palm Sunday, then Easter, then other things. So our FTC State Championship is actually going to be after all that, and it's going to be April 10th. Just one day after my birthday, which, by my birthday, the season's done. I'm not used to doing this kind of stuff. Vicky's birthday's in February. Now, she's the one who's always has a tournament on her birthday. But okay, so what does that mean? Basically, we're going to have all the teams. The most fair way we could think of to do this is basically have the teams re-register. Because people who originally signed up for the 2 overlapping tournaments, the end of January and February, the beginning of February, they probably did that because it was toward the end, and now they're the beginning tournaments. And anyway, you'll register just as you did before. You'll go to the High Tech Kids website and go to the FTC site and click on the register and get down, and you'll do the exact same thing. The only difference is you don't have to put in a credit card or anything like that. We'll be opening it in 3 waves over kind of a reduced time period, basically over a little more than 2 weeks. The first wave, all teams who have previously registered for at least 1 tournament will be able to again register for their first choice tournament or whatever tournament they want to make sure they get in. And then we'll sort that out for a day or 2, and then we'll open the second wave. And at the second wave, teams that previously registered for 2 qualifiers will be able to register for their second qualifier also. So again, no payment will be required to enter, and that's why we're doing it this way. So that will take care of all the teams that have previously registered for either 1 or 2 qualifiers. Then we're going to have a third wave where we'll basically re-enable the payment portion, and teams who originally only signed up for 1, or there were a couple of teams that came in late and weren't sure they really wanted to compete because of the time frames and that, will be able to register for qualifiers also. Of course, with then paying for that extra qualifier. And hopefully by the middle of December there, we'll have all the teams back in tournaments and we'll start organizing everything again, starting over. I don't know if there's any cases like this, but if there's a team that really was only able to do so, compete in December because of the way the school was, whether it was a class or something like that, if that really is the only thing you can do, and you'd still like to compete, please email me or call the office and we can work something out. You know, again, we're just trying to have you guys compete if at all possible. If your team has fallen apart or you're unable to compete at one or both of the qualifiers, you can then request one of the following two options. You can either get a 50% refund of your qualifier fee with High Tech Kids, or you can consider donating your fee to the High Tech Kids and we'll send you the Ultimate Goal pins that we normally give out to the teams, the teams and coaches. Okay. Program changes. I've gone through this. This is actually very similar to what I did at kickoff, but kickoff seemed like 100 years ago. So I'll go through it really quickly. Again, remote tournaments, there's a remote game manual 1 and a remote game manual 2 that describe these changes. It's not a single day. You're running your qualification matches. Judging sessions will be again on that single day. And in Minnesota, the judging session is going to be similar to at an in-person event. So a single judging interview will have a morning judging session, a feel to it, and then also a little bit of pit judging. And I'll get into more detail of that as we go through. Qualification matches, again, obviously there are no alliances or finalists or anything like that. You run your own matches, you do your own scoring, you're on your honor to submit the scores that you have declared as your official matches. And the total score of 6 matches that you enter into the offline system is your ranking. Tiebreaker is based on how much of your score is autonomous versus teleop. If you know 2 teams end up with exactly the same number of total points from their 6 matches. The other big change from this year, which is not related to remote tournaments at all, is the portfolio concept. And I went through this at kickoff also. The information in the game manuals can be a little confusing. It says things like the engineering notebook is still the record of the team's journey. And a lot of game manual 1 where it used to say you need information about this in your notebook, it now just says you need information about this in your portfolio. Basically, it's a short and concise summary of the team's engineering notebook. Yes, how are you going to do that in 15 pages? Well, that is a challenge. That's kind of an interesting thing. What I've been telling teams who have lamented over that fact is, don't think of it as your notebook in 15 pages. Think of it as your 1-page notebook summary being expanded to 15 pages. Should be easy to do. Okay. There's been a lot of discussion. I met with the judge advisors here in Minnesota and also on the regional judge advising panel with FIRST. And here are the statements that I think apply to the notebook, or the portfolio and the notebook. Portfolio is required for all awards. If you don't submit a portfolio, you can't win any award. And it will be the primary reference for the judge's understanding of your journey for the awards. That will be what they look at. Teams have the option of submitting their notebook with their other judging material, and I assume a lot of teams are doing notebooks. If judges need more information or have more time, they will go to the notebook for things. And that's kind of what it's going to be. If you read the game manual, if your team is looking to win, inspire, think, innovative, or design, a notebook is generally required. It says, there's some really vague phrase of the judge should be inspired to look for more details in the notebook. However, if all the information they need about an award is in the portfolio, then the notebook's not required to win the award. If judges find what they need in the portfolio and are satisfied with it, and it's the top design, if you will, you can win that. Well, design's a bad choice. The top motivate, you will win that award. However, if there's more information in the notebook, it will be a deciding factor between two teams for winning the award. More details, that kind of stuff. So a notebook is optional. It says that right at the top of the game manual, but not really. And I'll leave it up to coaches to kind of figure out what that means. You're welcome. Okay. Couple things that are a little different this year, and this is, again, not necessarily remote oriented, but we kind of forced this thing. There are two things you're required to do. All team members must complete the first online youth registration. Coaches, you should have put in your team members or parents' emails, and parents should have gotten an email sending them to a site where they can fill out the form and complete the youth registration for first. It's similar to the roster that you've done in the past with first, or if you weren't able to get the first one to do what you fill out with us. A little more detail this year on that. Also, we have the High Tech Kids demographic survey, which has also been required at tournaments in the past. This year, filling out that is online. The coach does it, so only one per team. And it includes a mailing address, so we know where to send your pins and medals and trophies and all that information. So it's kind of a good idea to get that in. We actually have a page on our website, Submit Forms, that gives you that information and also gives you options if you're unable for some reason to complete the first online youth registration form through first. You can do, as in past years, a paper form and get it to your coach, who can then download it to us. But we'd prefer, if at all possible, that you go through the first method. The submit forms, if you also on our website, go to the general FTC information, there's a button on the side for required forms, and that'll get you right to this place also, where our demographic survey and information on the first thing is at. Okay, so you've done these forms. Thank you, I'm hoping. And you're ready to go for a tournament. So what happens? Well, 2 weeks prior to the qualifier, yeah, okay, a week and a half, 2 weeks would be nice, but coaches will receive an email from High Tech Kids. You might also be receiving emails from First. First has a remote event hub, which they were trying to have partners use to organize remote events. And it was supposed to be ready initially in about July. And we tested a beta version of it last week. So it was not ready for our December tournaments. And because we've kind of put this in place, our own way of doing it, we're going to continue with our method of doing it. So if you get emails from First about a remote event hub or something like that, don't worry about them. You will get an email from High Tech Kids that will have your drivers and coaches meeting time and date, and probably a Zoom link to it. That will be Sunday evening, the week before your qualifier date. So if you're on either the Saturday or the Sunday, the week before that, there will be a drivers and coaches meeting. The coaches meeting is just to make sure you have all the information you need. And the drivers meeting will be kind of the traditional drivers meeting. We'll have a head referee explaining changes to the rules and what goes on, and how teams are supposed to be submitting their official scores. There'll be a link to a closing ceremony, which we believe will just be live streaming, kind of like we did the kickoff event. There will be a link to our qualifier Discord server. We're running our judging sessions all on a Discord server. And so you will get the information to link into there. There'll also be a link to a YouTube playlist where hopefully we will have all the robot runs from teams competing at that qualifier. And I'll get to submission of stuff in just a second. Also, there'll be the schedule for your team's judging session. So judging group and time on the actual qualifier day, either the Saturday or the Sunday. Our judging sessions are about 45 minutes and will run from 9 o'clock until 3 in the afternoon. So you will have a time slot somewhere in that window on that Saturday or Sunday for your judging. What else will you get? Well, you'll receive a link to a Google folder, which is just for your team stuff. And in that, you will be able to upload your Compass Award video if your team is doing one, your Promote Award video if your team is doing one, your engineering portfolio, the Control Award submission forms, 2 pages of that if your team is applying for the Control Award, and here a video of a robot run. We'd really like you to submit a video of your robot run. It doesn't have to be your best one. It doesn't have to be one that's official or scored or anything like that. Just one so that other teams, teams come to these tournaments to watch robot runs. So if they can see the other teams and that, that's part of what we're hoping to do. And if your team has an engineering notebook and would like to submit it, you'll be able to upload your engineering notebook also there. Judges and referees will be given access to these folders for the tournament that they are volunteering at. So they will be able to see the materials from all the different teams ahead of time. So hopefully they'll be a little more prepared for the judging sessions because of that. Okay, most important, submission deadlines. When are you going to have to put in all this stuff? Your Compass and Promote videos will need to be submitted the Sunday before. That's the same deadline that we had in past years. So basically the Sunday before your tournament date, you need to have that in there before Sunday at midnight, because we actually pass on those videos to a separate group of people to judge. And so they have the week then to look through those and judge those. All your other judging material, that whole list of portfolio, video, and notebook, Control Award, those are all Wednesday. So Wednesday prior to your event, no matter if it's Saturday or Sunday, we'd like it Wednesday. Wednesday at midnight is when all that stuff needs to be submitted. So we know it's there, we have access to it, our volunteers can start to look at it. And you need to have, obviously, your 6 robot matches completed and scored via the first live scoring system. Window will, and I hope you coaches have accessed that already. You can already go in and run test matches using their live scoring app. So please practice that, figure out how to do that. It should be from your dashboard in first. But you should be able to use that timer and setup to run matches, practice matches also. Anyway, the window for the official runs, the ones that you will score officially, will open 6 days prior to your qualifier and will close on noon of the day of the event. So your Saturday qualifiers, they will open the previous Sunday. They will be open that previous Sunday. And for the Sunday qualifier, it'll open Monday morning, be open Monday morning. So you have basically 6.5 days to submit your 6 official scored counting robot runs. Okay, so that's everything before the tournament. So now what gets left? What's done in a tournament? Well, this year, not as much. And it's the nature of the beast. You'll join the Discord server 30 to 45 minutes prior to your judging time. Since we will have control of the Discord server and people are generally locked down on it, which is part of the safety aspects of why we're doing it this way. Having kids on electronic media, we need to kind of make sure we know who's there and who's not. You'll send your name and team number and role, whether you're a coach or team member, on a text channel. And our Discord managers will then assign you a nickname, which will basically just be team number and first name, and then a role of team member or coach. And at that point, an additional channel will open up for you, mainly the judge waiting room channel. And you will move yourself into that judge waiting room. And whether you join as a whole team or whether you join individually, each member of the team will move everybody into you'll move everybody into that judge waiting room. And once it's available, in other words, once the previous team has moved out, we'll move you into a waiting room specific to your judging group. Our judging groups this year have names of snow, hail, sleet, fog, and you'll be moved into a waiting room specific for your judging group. Again, you'll be moved there by our Discord managers. And when you're there, you will be able to, as coaches, check and make sure that your whole team's there, that it's only your team there, and it's just your team. You will be able to practice in that room, make sure your technology works, make sure everyone knows what they're doing, and just get prepared for the judging session that's coming up. When it's your judging time, again, you will be moved by the Discord managers into your judging room. So once you do the first move into that waiting room, you're basically done then controlling your own fate in Discord. We take over. And we move you into the judging room, and the judge and referee inspectors will already be there, and we'll have them start your judging session. Judging sessions are a little bit different. So the first 5 minutes, you have a team presentation if you want, but you have a maximum of 5 minutes for that presentation. That should definitely be practiced. And I would also practice that on Discord. Because sometimes, you know, if your team is going to be all remote, all separated from each other, making sure you have the handoffs properly for who's doing what, and that is important so that you can get through the flow of things. So I would practice that on your own Discord server if you can, and maybe for other people on Discord, so that you know, parents or whoever can see what it works like on Discord and what it looks like. Then there'll be 10 minutes for questions and discussion with judges. So that's basically the same as the normal morning judging session at an in-person tournament. The judges are then going to leave the room, and the inspector and referee are going to have a Q&A time with your team. And there's two purposes for that, well, three. One is to give our inspectors and referees something to volunteer with this year, because otherwise, you know, they're not doing much. Secondly, it's also to give our judges a chance to discuss your team and kind of figure out what your team might be eligible as far as finalist awards and things like that, and work up some questions. And the third thing we'll get to in a second. Then the judges will come back and have 10 more minutes for follow-up questions. So this will be similar to the pit interviews when they come around and talk to the teams, and ask more questions about things they want to know more about, things that they specifically are looking at, and that will be it for the judging. So there's not any additional pit or finalist judging. Everything's going to be determined by this, basically for the team 35-minute session here. So what exactly are the referee and inspector going to do? Well, it's kind of time for your team to brag about your robot too. I mean, a lot about tournaments is teams talking to others and other adults and other volunteers about what they've done this season. And in spite of the season being very different, I hope teams are still very proud and willing to talk about what they've succeeded in. You know, what successes and failures did they have? Talk about unique parts in that. What about your autonomous? What did you learn? Also, if your team would like, the inspector will do kind of a mini inspection of the robot to make sure that things are as they should be. Now, we're not going to avoid any robot runs. We're not, you know, we don't really have control of that. You've run your 6 runs. You know, it doesn't matter if a cable wasn't tied down properly and at an in-person tournament that wouldn't have passed inspection. It's fine. We'll just tell you that for the future. Also, your team can ask any questions about they have about the missions that year, what's going on, or about inspections or about their robots. And hopefully the people will be able to answer that. So you should, if possible, be able to show your robot and move around it for the referee and inspector to kind of see it as they talk about it. That would be very nice if possible. The question has come up. I gave a similar presentation to the teams that are in cohorts this year. And the question came up of, what if an inspector finds something's wrong? Well, they're going to tell the team that needs to be changed for the future, and the team will hopefully follow that and correct it. Again, I said it doesn't invalidate any of the scoring runs. Those are done. They're in the system. That's that. And someone said, what about potential awards? You know, they're maybe up for an innovative design, and the inspector says, well, that arm's completely illegal. You can't use it. The referee and inspectors are going to talk with the judges. I guess it's the hope that if an inspector says that arm is illegal and the team feels that's important, the team should be able to tell the judges that in the follow-up 10 minutes. The team should say, hey, you know, we found out this arm is not quite legal because of this and this, but we'll work on that. But basically, the referee and inspectors are going to talk with the judges because the judges just need as much information as possible about the teams. Not you know, good things, bad things, whatever. But they're not going to be in the deliberations. So they will discuss for the 5 or 10 minutes after that session exactly what the referee and inspector saw, and hopefully give them more information about the team and the robot for the judges to go on. Okay, so your 35 minutes or so judging session is now over. And what's next? Well, you disconnect from the voice channel and leave the server, and you can go home and relax. Again, you can watch the YouTube, the robot runs from the other teams. But for qualifiers, we're really not planning any additional team interactions. We thought about that and we talked about that, and a number of teams have told us that they kind of just want to go home. And if all your team is remote, they're all at their own homes, then they're really not doing things together anyway, or they can do it together on their own server and that, and not at this. So we've really decided that the tournament is going to be just kind of this part of the tournament. For state, we'll hopefully have more interactive activities, some sort of maybe individual team rooms, pits that people can visit and that kind of stuff. And the judging will be different at state too. So the next thing is the award ceremony, awards and closing ceremony. So you can tune into that, and we'll be, as I said, be live streaming that. And that basically is what I wanted to present. So if there are questions about that, we can go on to questions about that. I'm trying to figure out how there it is.
You did such a good job that there are no questions. But if someone has a question, just you can unmute yourself even and shout her out. Nothing?
Everyone is so prepared for their tournaments that they've got no troubles at all.
Oh, we should just have tournaments this weekend.
With the first dashboard server, do you need to be the lead coach to have access to that, or how do you get access to that? I haven't seen that on my dashboard.
You mean to the scoring software?
Yes.
That's a good question. It may just be the lead coach, but I would have expected both to be able to have access to it. Have you gone through all the YPP and also the release and consent form and finished all that with first?
Yeah, I have, but I am a mentor, not the lead coach, but I'm in charge of all the paperwork. So I'm wondering if the wand just needs to be passed off.
Probably. Yes.
I don't know that
so.
I have the same really clear link. I watched the YouTube videos on how to do it that First Inspires published, and they put in there a web link that includes your team name that you can just put into the browser that will get you there.
Oh, okay.
So it is specific to your team, but I don't know that it's super clear how to get there from your page.
I'm a lead coach, and I'm on the dashboard, and there's no links or anything any buttons that would open the scoring software.
Okay, I will investigate that more, and we'll let you know. But yes, there is. So actually, you can either find it on First or on the High Tech Kids website. We do have a link to the. There's
Here,
a set of 4 videos.
I can share my screen to show you where it is. So when you get to our website and you're on the FTC page, the FTC portion of it, if you just go down, actually you can just go to this ultimate goal page here, and it's all here under this first, there's a video series, and I clicked on this scoring, but it looks like you have to be logged in. So I'm not sure, because I don't have a team, how First is doing that.
So I just put the web address in the chat, but you put your specific team name at the end after that last slash.
Oh, where it says, okay.
Yep.
And that should bring you to your specific scoring team. You will have to enter your credentials just like you're getting onto the dashboard.
Okay.
Your team number, you mean?
Yes, I'm sorry, did I say name? Yeah, your team number.
Right.
That's what I thought. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
There you go.
Okay, Norm, there was another question.
Yeah, I've pulled up the chat.
Okay, it says, did
So I
you
will do it.
mention what time the award ceremony is going to be?
I didn't mention. I think we're thinking around 7 o'clock, but it may depend on if we have both an FLL and an FTC tournament the same day as to when we actually get those done. But sometime early evening, 6, 7 o'clock that evening is the plan. So judging's done at 3. We're hoping to have deliberations done by 5, and then have, half hour, 45 minutes to put together our little award ceremony thing with the people that are involved. So 6:30 to 7 that evening.
And Mike had asked, is it possible to email the PowerPoint? You know, Mike, I'm going to try to find a place on the website to post it. It might even be a blog post under latest news. That might work the best for
Right.
FTC.
Yeah,
so yes, it'll be out there.
It can go in the FTC team resources also. I mean, there's some other FTC coach material out there, and we'll find it. But yes, it will be available.
Yes.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you so very much for what you guys are doing. We don't have, all of our kids are either ACT testing or doing dance or whatever it is for a lot of the Saturdays and Sundays that are coming up. So we're trying to figure out if they can zoom in from wherever it is that they are throughout Minnesota. Would it be fair to say that it would be a 45-minute session that they would need to zoom in for that would be absolutely required on the date of the tournament, but the rest would be optional?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
That's,
so
and that's the exact situation that, we've come up with, why we decided not to put a lot of effort right now into other activities, because kids are kind of all zoomed out also. So they want to come in and get their stuff done. And as Vicki was going to say, the time with the team is really only 35 minutes.
Right.
But it would be nice to get them in a few minutes ahead of time. So yeah, basically that judging session, which will be pre-scheduled, you'll know the time, is the only required thing for the team that day.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, we've done some FLL technology checks, and it takes a minimum of 15 minutes by the time they get in, and we rename them and you get to the right place. And just the older kids are maybe better with Discord than the little kids, but yeah. And then Norton asks, are Dean List submissions now due the month before our new tournament? Yes.
Yes. So there were people who tried to submit Dean's List for December tournaments, and the Dean's List system didn't work with remote tournaments. And I've heard that's now been fixed, and we do have some Dean's List submissions. Yes, get them in the month before their new tournament date. So that would be, December 15th if you're shooting for the January 30th tournament, January 15th for the February tournaments, and actually February 15th for the 1 March tournament. But, you know, if you end up not getting it in by December 15th and you're in the January 30th tournament, just put down a different tournament date when you submit your Dean's List stuff. Because like last year, we're going to do the Dean's List judging kind of in groups on weekday evenings before the tournaments. Probably a group in early March or early January and a group in or mid-January and a group in mid-March. So we started last year doing the Dean's List judging not at the tournaments, but evenings the week before the tournament, because it just worked out better, less stressful for the kids to have to do this Dean's List thing in the middle of whatever they were doing that day. And with all the remote stuff, it's probably easier to schedule it evenings throughout the week also.
You guys are so quiet.
Yeah, FLL Vicky kept FLL coaches on for like an hour and 20 minutes last night.
Ask
It's because we actually read our emails. We read all the stuff. So we don't have to, you know, redo, guys.
And if anyone's curious, we are still going to do the Stratasys Awards that we do generally at the end of the season. And what else do we do? If any of your kids are mentoring FLL teams, we are going to do those FLL Young Mentor and Young Leader Awards. All that information will go out soon. I'm hoping before Christmas break. So.
Is the state tournament?
Sorry?
Go ahead.
Okay, my question is on the wrap up, the awards. How long is that estimated to be? How long is that Twitch stream estimated to be?
Oh, probably a half an hour. I mean, it's going to be basically the same length as the award ceremony was in the past, maybe a little bit longer because we'll do some of the beginning stuff also, but half an hour is probably a very good guess for it.
But we don't have to wait for the teams to walk down, so maybe that's a wash, right?
Yeah, maybe.
It's true. No
Stand up in
high
your
five
place.
line.
You can do this, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
High five.
You mentioned the judging for the state tournament is going to be different. Is the state tournament also going to be virtual?
Yes.
We're assuming the state tournament is going to be virtual, yes.
Okay. How is the judging going to be different then?
Well, I think what's going to happen at state, and this is just my belief, we haven't finalized it yet, but we will do the team interviews. So what is traditionally in-person things, the morning interviews that we do at state on Friday evening, we'll do those in the week prior to the event. So in the week leading up to the event, we will have evening interview times for all the teams, and we'll do that initial interview instead of Friday night, like we normally do at an FTC state tournament. We'll do those during the week. And then Saturday, we will do a more pit-like interview where different judges are assigned to different awards and then go around and talk to the different teams. And the scheduling on that is what we haven't quite worked out yet, how we're going to make that work. But
so the main team judging session that's going to happen in that week before is going to be the same format as for the tournaments.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful to know.
And someone asked, the Ordean Devil Dogs asked, can we submit more than one robot run video, or do you prefer just the one?
I guess you can support more than one.
Yeah. I guess I would add for your videos, make sure either in the beginning of your video or at the end of your video, you have somehow we can tell what team it's from, so that when we're running the videos, they know it's team 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, or something, or have all your kids get in the frame or do something so we know who you are. so everybody else knows who you are. So Steve.
That's what the number on the robot is for.
Well, yes, but you know, some people have fun outfits or funny hats, or I don't know. It's our attempt at making it fun, right? So Steve asks, our experience with Discord when using it for our cohort has been very disappointing, mostly bad audio. Have you used this enough already to allow me to reassure the kids that they should be able to be heard and understand the questions?
So we've used it for FLL now, doing some trial robot runs, and with a smaller group of people. In other words, a team and a few judges, 10, 15 people, something like that. We've had good results, yes. I know the cohorts have had problems, and part of that is because there's usually been 25 people or so in each of the rooms. But with a lesser number, a team and a few judges, it would be similar to what we've been doing with FLL runs, and that seems to work okay.
Yeah, it really wasn't an issue. The biggest issues they had were us being able to see their Lego robot. So, you know, so Q&A should be fine.
So
I know our team.
oh, go ahead.
Our teams up here in North Branch, our FLL teams did have trouble with Discord and communication delays, with it just being the team meeting together with the judge just because of internet speed.
Were you guys on the first day on Sunday?
I can't remember. Everything's blending together now.
we had two referees that were having internet issues themselves that they then fixed. So I'm just wondering if that's what that issue was, or if it was.
And I will say that, you know, it's technology, and we may have trouble with it, and we'll just try and work around that as best we can for the tournaments. So there is no perfect solution, unfortunately.
I know my team is planning on doing a couple trial runs and inviting a grandma or grandpa or somebody to watch as act like the judges, just to get some practice and work out the technical glitches, you know, make sure that we have a good microphone where the team is or where the different team members are, all that kind of good stuff. So
I have a question more for kind of just I would say the group as a whole. Earlier, someone made a comment that basically we have a third of all the teams in Minnesota here with us right now. Okay, that's a pretty healthy amount. So that means at least a third of us have figured out some sort of remote participation. And so I'm wondering, mostly what I'm curious about is how are people executing on fabrication of the robot? Because frankly, as a coach and a mentor, my biggest concern, and really as an educator, my biggest concern is that I can tell the kids, oh yeah, you know, you put the bolts through the hole and you screw it together. But right now, ultimately, it's me doing that because I can't meet with the kids and I can't really exchange parts with them just for the sake of hygienics. So I'm wondering how other people have been able to navigate that and how people have been working on fabrication. Keep in mind that I do work with middle schoolers. I don't have the luxury of working with high schoolers who may have more skill than my group of kids.
Well, since you said what we do, I do have mostly high schoolers, but we're really using CAD. We've always wanted to do that more, and this year kind of forced the issue, which I think is great. The kids all want to get hands-on because who doesn't? But and then I also happen to have the two mentors are two parents, so those two kids happen to be the ones who end up putting most of the things together after we've designed it. So maybe not germane to everyone, but that's how we're doing it.
Okay.
We've been able to use the high
We,
school previously, but now that schools are closed, the last 3 weeks we haven't been able to meet at all and work at all on the robot. So we're waiting for the school to open up again because we don't have any facilities we can do it outside of the school.
So yeah, I could like to echo some of those as well. My team is all high schoolers, true, but still it's been tough. They're willing to work on it. They love to do hands-on. We've tried passing the robot from home to home a little bit. It works to a certain degree, but we'd like to increase the use of CAD too, because I think that's a valuable learning experience, and here's the opportunity to use it. I'd like to hear what other coaches, other people in the program think about doing this, and any suggestions you may have as well. The learning curve for CAD is pretty high, so that's been a little bit of a barrier. What do you all think?
Cody, actually, did you want to speak to that? Because despite us working with a group of middle schoolers, we've actually had a decent amount of success with CAD, and the kids have taken to that quite a bit.
Sure. So I taught them CAD over the summer as like a summer session. Like, we're not actually in school. Let's take this chance to learn CAD. And a couple of the problems we've really run into is taking what we have on CAD. We got downloaded the kit of parts from the website, and we're piecing all these things together, and it's like a lot of problems are like lining things up, making sure we're putting bushings in places. And then when we get to the physical, like we're actually putting channels together and finding places for the screws, not everything lines up. Or like we have to make like a couple little tweaks, so a couple little tweaks turns into a lot of big tweaks, and then we have our CAD file, and then we have our physical robot, and they don't necessarily look the same.
Yeah, especially when basically when the CAD design doesn't happen in the same room as the physical building, they quickly diverge, and it's very hard to get back on track. And when such a strong emphasis has been placed on the portfolio and lab notebook this year, it's really critical that the CAD design and physical design at least sync up. But it is nice then, because you do get kind of a nice journey a little bit. You get snapshots of the thinking, and if you use the right software, it records for you the evolution of the CAD software. So generally we've had success with that, but the critical thing is timing, is that you have to jump on it really before school starts, because it is just a whole other class for these kids.
I don't get any kickbacks by them, but we switched to Onshape from Creo this year. And I mean, they're both PTC, but the online format of Onshape is really nice, and like with the educational one, you can make teams, so it's really easy to share. Me being a software nerd, like it's reminiscent of like a GitHub, the way that you can actually branch things off, and so like I really like it. I was actually impressed. In years past, we had to like share files around and version them, and it was just gross and ugly. And now it's nice. We have a history that we can go back when somebody that doesn't know what they're doing just tries to tinker. It doesn't matter. Like they can destroy it, but we can just back up 3 days, and there's back where we were. So
okay. So you mentioned team accounts. Yeah, go ahead, please.
I was just gonna say, Onshape is also really nice from the fact that there's a bunch of other stuff out there. So like, there's a ton of libraries of parts that you don't need to import yourself and set all the properties and stuff like that. And their tutorials are fairly good. We moved to Onshape I guess technically it was like last year, but double thumbs up from us too.
Okay. How do you use your how do you set up your team accounts? I know two of the coaches were talking about it. Team accounts. So you set up an account for each of the kids. I know it's available through the Onshape educational program. I've seen the announcement there. You set up an account for each of the kids, and they're all linked together as a team, so they can share files. Is that the idea?
Yeah. So
go ahead.
You would have somebody creates a team in their setting. So somebody creates a team, and then you invite students to the team. And you can invite them before they have an account. So you can send them an email and then they'll sign up, right? And then if you create things that are shared with the team, so like we have a folder that anything for the team gets created in that is shared with the team. So anybody that is in the team has access to the folder. You can also share docs individually, but that can get really messy because Onshape doesn't provide a good way to hide top level documents. So
okay,
nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There are other tools that do the same thing. Fusion 360 works the same way. It is free for educational purposes as well.
Okay.
I wanted to piggyback off of that, Ivan. So we were having a lot of trouble getting the licenses because all these students needed to provide a proof of like education enrollment, and we were having a lot of issues with that. Did you run into that too?
No. In fact, we've used it for a few years, and this year I do know that one of the mentors had to jump through a few hoops to get licenses, but for the kids, we've never had any problem. I think they use their school email. So
interesting.
They changed that requirement this year. So that was a new thing this year. We don't really use it for Iron Maidens, but the FRC team I'm with uses it for CAM. And there was also a whole kerfuffle about like they briefly removed the ability to import step files, and then they completely messed up the CAM software at one point this year. So that was an entire journey.
So I don't
we
want to.
haven't had any issues really with Fusion 360.
So I'm all for going down the CAD rabbit hole, but just so I get a kind of a definitive answer, at least to my question, it sounds like most teams have actually resigned themselves to basically the students and the mentors will collaborate on the engineering, on the design, but then it is actually just the mentors who build it in the end, or when they can.
No,
or
I don't build anything.
No, we don't build
it
anything
single
either.
screw.
It's all the kids.
But it's not a group effort to build it, or at least it's not a in-person group together effort. It's like one kid will build some of it, and they might hand it off as, like one person's building, if it's an arm.
It depends on your situation, and that's why we're down right now where we're not able to meet at the school, because we work on it together, both the CADing and the design and everything, and the mounting. So we meet twice a week. I have a team of 6 kids. And they work on it together, and I don't do any work other than supervise and give ideas and stuff.
The one thing that I've encouraged my team, beyond Onshape and CADing, which you can do socially, you can go on Discord, you can go on Zoom and share your screen and do CAD together. And we've actually had some success with that. Plus it's some social time for the students. I've really pushed the module idea. And so we have 4 or 5 modules, and because they're modules, I can take a kit of parts, drop it off to a student's home. Now, I don't have any legal issues because I'm not a teacher. I realize some teachers may have issues going to people's homes, but I can drop off a kit of parts at a child's home. They can make the module. I can come pick it up. They can leave it at the step. I can leave the bag of parts at a step. We don't have to interact. I can deliver everything to one person's home. They can build the whole robot. So I think it's just taking some rethinking. We've
tried that model. We've done that exact model, and unfortunately just haven't had, I guess, that level of success. I don't know if it's the age difference for us, or just we haven't quite matured our designs and modules themselves enough. But we're doing it pretty much everything everyone has suggested so far, just I guess not to the same degree of success. So we'll keep trying at it, but I do appreciate everyone's input on this. Thank you guys.
Well, maybe
I feel like you're in the roughest part here.
The extra time to prepare for the tournaments will help.
Oh, for sure. That's definitely a blessing. Yeah.
Right, and I'll put in a plug here that there has been some discussion of this by people on the Mentors Slack channel, the Minnesota Mentors Slack channel, discussion by people of how they're doing this and how things have run. So if you're not a member of that, you can email me, and I'll email me with the email address you want to be linked with, and I'll get that to the people running the Slack channel and get you invited to that.
It's a good suggestion.
Awesome. Thank you.
I think it's important to underline that we all have different challenges during this time, and there is no one recipe that fits all. So we all have to try our different things.
Absolutely.
I agree.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. If not, then, I mean, I'd like to hang on for another 2 minutes so it's exactly an hour, but that's fine. We can.
So just Norm, Vicky, just wanted to take a shout out again. I think some of the coaches said it too. Thank you to High Tech Kids for being flexible and doing all of this. We appreciate it.
Well, people come to me and ask questions of how you're going to do that, and literally we're about 5, maybe 10 minutes ahead of you guys on what we know and what we're thinking. So everybody's being flexible, and we're all just doing what we can. So
at least somebody's ahead of us.
Our joke is we are on our 52nd version of the wheel since March. So and we're moving, if you guys care. So.
Oh yeah.
We're looking for a place if you know a place, because it might have to happen in the next month. So
we were supposed to move in April after all the tournaments were over, and now our tournaments go to April. So we're looking to maybe move before that time, like in the next 3 weeks.
So
hey, they've got a lot of empty robot spaces they're not using right now, so we could sneak in someplace. No one would ever know.
Are you staying in the area?
We have no idea.
The Twin Cities area, yes.
Yeah, which part are you looking?
Well, we have 5 employees. 2 are in Golden Valley, 1 down in Eagan, and 2 out in Woodbury and Afton. So.
So the central location is in the Highland Park area of St. Paul, which there are no office spaces there. So.
Especially nothing we can afford.
Yeah, we have to buy a house or something, but we will see. I got another list of places today to go look at, so we'll figure it out. So.
Well, again, just so you guys know how much these kids are appreciating having anything at all on their schedules that isn't that they can do together, even if it's remote. It's promoting excitement. I know it's a lot of work for you guys, but on behalf of the kids, thank you so very much.
I know our kids appreciate the extra time, so thank you.
Oh, that's good.
Good.
Well, we should be thanking you all for coaching, because this is not easy to do, even in non-COVID years, to have a bunch of squirrely middle school and high school students and get them focused on doing something kind of tough. So thank you guys for coaching, because if we didn't have you, we don't really have a program. So we'll get through this all together.
Yeah.
And please, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. Just Norm at High Tech Kids. I'm always here, kind of ish. So.
Yep.
Right.
And don't forget about registration tomorrow, 3 o'clock.
Yep. Registration opens tomorrow afternoon. Sign up for your favorite tournament. There's later ones, and now even more later ones. So
really late ones.
No one should complain about not being able to get to a late tournament. So.
All right.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you guys all for coming.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.